So there's a lot of exciting things that are going to happen. And that's why the whole buzz about AI has come to the fore.
Was it a concept or a technological revolution that was envisaged or well thought of decades ago?
If you look at the evolution of AI right from the 50s, AIs have existed to do specific things. They were mostly what we call the narrow AIs. Machines were trained to perform specific tasks. But then all of a sudden, with the rule-based systems out of the way, you collect a lot of empirical data. Okay, the descriptive phase was to capture a lot of data, and then you need a lot of data scientists to be able to program and set the rules. This is what we want done, this is what we want done. And then we get a result. But then this whole thing has been turned upside down. When you collect the data, you tell the kind of result you want, and then you have it. Let me give an example of what happened in 2019. Okay, this the clearest example everybody can relate to, because when the COVID genome sequence was released in January 11th, the Chinese scientists published what the genome sequencing was, because they had seen the first mutations. There was a company called Moderna, a biopharma organization that is led by data scientists. Now, what this guy did was to build like 3 narrow AIs to learn from the data that has been collected and what has happened in previous vaccine creations. 44 days later, February 24th, they were ready with the first vaccines for trial. They shipped to NIH, and then by the end of the year, the vaccines were approved. What would it have typically taken to produce vaccines years ago? We're talking about a decade. You needed minimum of 10 years. But within 44 record days, a vaccine was ready for clinical trials. So AI disrupts everything. We call it a disruptor, it's an enabler. And then companies and organizations, even countries, would need, as we speak now, a clear strategy and a compelling vision as to how they imbibe this and integrate their operations if they are going to be successful at it.
We know that one of the foremost ones that we relate to is, of course, Chat GPT, etc.
Yeah.
But it's just a minute aspect of what they talk about as far as artificial intelligence is concerned. Tell us, what's the distinguishing factor between what we typically got to know for being ICT, information communication technology, and then AI?
Okay, so ICT originally is a rule-based system. For example, in Ghana, there's a lot of noise about digitization, but this is the infant phase. When you talk about AI, you are moving towards more of a prescriptive system, a system that's able to think, reason, and then create the kind of results you want without a lot of programming in between. Okay, you have the data capture phase that has a lot of data. You could go in there, generate report, and say, oh, this is what is happening, that's what is likely to happen, and then you do your forecasting. In the descriptive phase, you are still, you can even move from that phase, and then you begin to diagnose the data by, having a team of data scientists analyze and crash the data. And then we heard so much about big data. With big data, you had business intelligence being created by a team of IT experts. They sit down and build a lot of analytics and are able to forecast based on patterns they see in the data. All these things have changed with the introduction of AI. So ICT is still ICT, but you have it significantly competing because of the way the algorithms are processed. You have it competing with the human capabilities and ingenuities. ICT itself has been disrupted. If you look at what typically happened with our friends in Twitter, as soon as Elon Musk took over, he laid off almost everybody, including the Ghana office was shut down. Why? He knew AI would do most of the work that traditional IT did. So even IT, and we saw what happened in the demo, when they did a demo recently, where you just do a sketch on a piece of paper and say, this is how I want my website to run. When it is uploaded, the system is able to think and build the code in the back end, creating it for you. You have it being able to create your lawsuits for filing in the court. You have it being able to do almost anything. Once you've written your prompt very well, is able to give you the ideas and the inspiration to do otherwise what would have taken a lot of time to do. So basically what this AI is doing, the generative AI, the discussion we are having now is zeroing in on generative AI, is replacing 4 of the terrible things that we have always been inundated with at work. The dangerous, the dull, the difficult, and the dirty part of our work. So anytime you have to decide and think between things, if machine has been trained with a capacity to deliver almost 100% the results you are looking for, why waste the time to do it? So human beings must change the approach. We say companies must start building human-centered solutions that are tech-powered, so that the people run the systems, but then all those dirty, dull, difficult and dangerous tasks are replaced completely.
Fantastic.
They're automated, and then the process gets more optimized and streamlined.
You know, typically, when you listen to Elon Musk, you listen to Bill Gates, and many of you look at what Tom Cook and all those people who always say, Jack Ma, for example, and recently he surfaced in Pakistan just a few days ago. They always say that AI, whilst it is a disruptive technology, has come to do us a lot of good. Should we be worried that it will take away human jobs, etc., but also have an advantage, and what would that be?
Okay, so like I said earlier, for companies to harness this in a way that does not kick them out of the market space, they would have to create a clear and compelling strategy now if they will be relevant in the next 5 years, because it's still in its early infant stage. It's the same for every job, every role. You must find a way to make your work more exciting, more interesting and relevant in the new wave of demands that customers would create, because what AI or technology evolutions have done in the past is to determine the pace. And companies are looking like customers in 3 broad categories. What is able to cut costs for the customer and deliver great value. Whereas in companies, you'll be looking at 3 areas. How do I reduce risk? How do I cut costs? And how do I increase revenue growth exponentially? We've always depended on the human thinking and intellect for these things. But then with a pre-trained data, the systems are able to analyze. I know the general thing to do is to use the chat GPT and all that, but these are the generic ones. We've got, if companies are serious, you build your own notebooks. They learn the data, you put in the data, your prehistoric data. They're able to learn based on what results that you want. And then the systems generate the rules to be able to achieve the predictable results that you want. And this is the conversations companies must start having. How do we use AI to zero in on the why, the purpose why the company exists?
And typically, if you watch the monitoring screen on the television, in the studio currently, you find that AI has been used to generate all these robots. They're able to do, in China, for example, we have, even in Korea and Japan, typical restaurants that tend to have robots serving, etc. And that's where we've gone to the next level. As a country, as a continent, how do we interface this or wire this into our national policy framework? Because what I do know is that already we are behind.
Absolutely. So we need to do what we call the readiness assessment. We need to do a reality check as a country, and this for corporations as well. We need to compare with what other countries are doing and where the lessons must be, because it's true that we are preparing people are learning and everything, but are we sure that in the next 5 to 10 years, when Africa has become the continent with the most youthful, employable labor, we have the requisite skills to remain competitive? And by the way, automation, like is being shown on the screen, is just one aspect
Fantastic.
of the AI evolution. A lot of things are happening in the space of decision making, being able to build predictability as to what messaging is able to give us more clients and all that. If you look at Amazon uses an AWS server, an engine behind its system. When you buy one book, it's able to tell you people that bought this book also bought the following books, because it's learning from the data. Like business cannot remain as usual. I was asking a question to a group yesterday. Would you rather that a human surgeon who is acclaimed and does well runs an operation, a medical procedure on you, or a machine that has 99% accuracy. That's the kind of conversation we are having. And this borders on ethics and all that. So the question must always be, how do we set our ambitious goals? We call the 3 Ps. The company or the country as a whole must evaluate what the potential is for Ghana to harness from the agri sector, from revenue mobilization. I was just thinking about something to do a storyboard for NHIA, okay? To remove fraud. If I'm an insurance company, how do I make sure my claims approval is not outrageous and I cut costs considerably by removing all the human factors? So all these potentials must be analyzed. We develop the use cases. And then the second one is the people, the second P. We must find out how to help the people upskilling, reskilling, and helping them to build the competencies required to leverage this AI, so that they are doing meaningful work. They are not just showing up to work and spending all the time doing the dirty, dull, difficult, dangerous work. But then they are doing meaningful work that makes us productive. And the last one is the processes. Companies must now, departments, function-specific and enterprise-wide, must create the policies that allow the company to set the guard rules so that we do not infringe on copyright laws and all that. Things cannot be done as usual. And every organization's strategy must become AI friendly. You must see AI as a colleague, and every employee must use these tools as its assistants. I like how Microsoft calls it the co-pilot.
The co-pilot.
So that you are sitting in the cockpit, but you have someone guiding you to make your work more meaningful and enjoyable. The productivity level live here and come over there. If this is applied in GRA, for example, you have the revenue levels shooting up above the rules. And this is the conversation the country must be having.
Because we're already having conversations about how we even need to broaden the tax nets, because efforts are being made to make sure that we extend technology better to more people, whether formally or informally educated. That even brings a question. You know, just about 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, there was a whole conference that was organized in Morocco. And so we had a team also going there. And the conversation was whether Africa, because of the state of our infrastructure, we're ready for AI, etc. Well, if you look at what we have now as a continent, maybe apart from Southern Africa, are we ready for it? If we're not ready, what can we do to make sure that we also bring ourselves in the space and become competitive in that?
The IT readiness assessment, you can later people could check the WIPO to track patenting around how countries are even trying to build innovations around an AI strategy-led economy. Now what the country needs to do is to move very fast along the value chain of digitization. We are in level 1. I've put it in 4 broad spectrums. We have the descriptive state. In each of these states, you have a lot of data being captured in systems, you have analysis being done, and you have decisions being made. And the level at which you use AI to enable these things is what determines the maturity, and the company begins to immediately reap the benefit. I remember sharing with Kofi Nti one time, the former GRA boss, about how AI at the time, because Web and Software was just into AI, but this whole noise hadn't come, about how we could take the revenue from where we have it now to even beyond the levels our peers are collecting. And what that means is the country must cope its data capturing needs and scale beyond that, because now we are in the descriptive phase. A lot of data is being captured on almost everyone, is good. But when we move into the diagnostic phase, you are training, for example, the team, again, in your example of revenue mobilization, then they begin to train the team at GRA so that they are analyzing the data. We call it self-service BI, business intelligence. They must move to the diagnostic phase and learn a lot of things. And after they've done it, then we move to the predictive phase, where the systems are able to predict where to look to, to go after the market and to go after the tax evaders. Because tax avoidance is not the issue, it's tax evasion. That's the issue. And so you go after, the systems are able to give the prompts as to where to look into. And then the last phase, when Ghana is able to arrive there, companies and countries are already doing well. Like you talk about examples of the Luxembourgs and the examples of Israel, Canada. They have AI embedded in every facet of their revenue mobilization. So you have the situation that you are able to literally have the systems predict to prescribe what GRA must do as a strategy. And this same thing we've discussed could affect the health sector, the financial space, and the banking sector, and could affect almost every industry of national concern. I'm particularly interested and excited about the possibilities that AI will present in the agric realms. Ghana needs to change its approach to doing business. Even in biopharma, instead of importing a lot of drugs from India and Pakistan, it's time for Ghana to move on from this. We call let's have a system where we are able to do manufacturing here. AI-led manufacturing is possible with the recipes, with the kind of amount of data that all the success stories around the world have achieved. It's time for the country to change. We must reform. This is a new paradigm.
Okay. Well, open the phone line just in case you're interested in technology, how AI is going to revolutionize. You have fears whether people will lose jobs, etc. You're in the space. Many of you in IT audit, risk audit, for many of the financial institutions, etc. Also wanting to ask better questions of Mr. Philip Gamey. Please, the phone lines will be ready on your screens. As we try to wind up this conversation, call, ask any question related to your fears about AI, what the prospects are as well. Bill Gates says, while people should be worried about AI, they should know that AI has great advantages. Good at detail-oriented jobs, reducing time for data-heavy tasks, saves labor and increases productivity, delivers consistent results, and can improve customer satisfaction through personalization. How is that possible right here in Ghana?
Yeah, I think a lot of the worries has to do with the intransparent, incoherent nature in which the algorithms are set.
Okay.
If companies will scale this, they must make sure that they are also investing equally in the human that runs this for the AI investments to stick and be meaningful and create the necessary impact. So the worry should not be so much about what AI is undoing, the misconceptions and all that, but how people can positively leverage this. Because in every technology evolution, these things have already occurred.
We already have Arnold from La Paz. Arnold, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Please, any question or contribution you want to add to this? Mr. Gamey is here.
A quick question. I'm into IT, like programming.
Fantastic.
But the problem currently is that our education system is not aiding us to grow that fast. Because you go to school, what we do mostly is technical school. They are reading and they are explaining. Assuming we are doing reading and we are doing a lot of practicals, our mind will be open up to this kind of stuff. And if you look at the AI system, it's not a system where you just have to be reading only. You need to apply practical. But education system is not helping us. What way can the government, look into these so that we can change the system? Because what the Honorable is saying is very true. We need to move fast to meet the demand in the system. So as he is already in that domain, what best advice can he give to the education system to try, applying practical aspect than the reading aspect?
Fantastic question. Fantastic question, Arnold. Mr. Gamey.
And that's exactly the point of the conversation. How
to get us thinking.
Yes, because most of the things that happen with our tertiary education and our schooling system must change. And I was saying we must prepare for the new wave of work.
How do we do that?
5 to 10 years from now, most of the things we are doing now will not be relevant, because by the time you finish your 7-year program, there's already an AI doing it for you. So the schools must change. We must go into prompt engineering and think in waves. So basically what we are going to do is to have a national AI squad that predicts for each of the sectors. This is the kind of wave that's going to come. You think ahead 15 years. and then we learn for those wave of jobs. We must be thinking ahead of the curve, because currently what we are doing is to prepare for things that have been in existence, the traditional kind of system. It can't be backward again. We must be forward thinking. And so there must be a complete paradigm. We have a 1 hour free session, for example, we do for companies now.
That's web
And software.
Okay.
We go to the companies and then we teach the boards and senior management how they could leverage this in their strategic excellence.
We have Danny from Kofodia. Danny, all the way from Kofodia. Good morning to you. What question do you have for Mr. Gamey? AI revolutionizing. What do you think?
Yeah, so good morning to you too. I'm also a software developer, right? And something that I've been preaching myself. So my work offline, when this AI started becoming a thing, right, it makes my work more easier. I can just generate like codes I can just embed, and even sometimes when I'm struggling with something, it's easier to resolve. So what I always preach is that instead of pushing back as a country, because I realize like this part of this world, like we kind of push because there's a fear it's about to take our jobs, but instead of pushing back, we should rather embrace it, because whether we like it or not, it's happening. So that's my opinion.
Okay. So those who are already doing the traditional IT software developing, coding, etc., what's the advice?
You know, I was trained a coder myself. I started coding at age 13. I was building COBOL stuff and games and all that, yes.
Intelligence.
But then what it means is that again, the 4Ds are completely replaced, because you'd have to do a lot of codes and all that. I remember as a young coder, one time I attended a program and then I'd done a WYSIWYG, even though WYSIWYG was for web development, I'd done a WYSIWYG that produces codes. So people must start looking beyond.
You did a WYSIWYG.
WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get. So that you could put in, it's just like the generative AI we have now. And we are building with Google Colab. IT guys must look for that Google Colabs. They can go to GitHub. I would love the space, because NITA, the regulator in the ICT space, is already having discussions with us. I met the Director General
Information Technology Agency.
It's already having discussions with us. I met him just a week ago or so, and we're considering building sandboxes so that you can have this tech guys, developers come around and play around the models. So you can have your own model from GitHub, fit into a Google Colab, and you have your own chat GPT.
It looks like more Ghanaians are into technology. They're interested in this conversation. We have one. Where are you calling from, sir? Good morning.
Good morning.
Daniel, you're calling from where exactly?
Zebila in the Upper East.
Oh, Zebila, just near Bokopo, Siga, etc. Please ask your question straight away.
Yeah, I think with the AI aspect, Zebila, I think this is a super, what we do call it, idea. We should be enrolled in the new coming system that the educational system will be enrolling in September.
Okay.
You see, with the AI, people are thinking that it is coming to take their jobs from them, but it is rather coming to do good to us. This is an opportunity for the youth to start to learn IT and what we do call it, the AI, to able to take themselves into the technology world.
Okay.
Basically, with this background, even though AI is coming to do most of the work, there are certain things that a company will need an IT guy to be able to assist AI to perform its duty as they want. So I think it's a great innovation, and the country should take it on to help us, especially in the aspect of unemployment.
Fantastic. How do we differentiate it or try to do the assimilation? Because I think the current status quo is that we say IT. Where are we where are we transitioning to now? Okay,
with AI, especially in the space of the generative AI, which has really created a buzz because AI has been, long in existence. We had the drones and everything doing AI already. But with generative AI, the capacity of systems to be able to think, we are talking about machine learning. It's moving towards machine learning more because the systems are trained to learn. And that's where the discussions should, evolve around. We have the situation where we are able to, for example, partner with the Institute of Executive Studies, and they are creating a master's program. We are trying to see if we can get accreditation for that, so that IT people can have a 1-year master's program that enables them to be able, and even if you don't have the degree, you could do a diploma program that, puts in your hand the power to be able to build these AI tools.
I'm really interested in this. It's overwhelming. And we have our last caller. Is it John?
Yes, please, sir.
Where are you calling from, John? And please ask your question or contribution.
I am calling from Kumasi, Honorable as a Kasima constituency.
Okay, please go ahead.
All right. I this morning listening to this program make me feel like crying, because way back 2005, 2006 at primary school, ICT was not a matter of it. I think that's important.
Okay.
But way back in secondary school, ICT was just like a choice. Teachers that were even teaching ICT were not even serious about even the subjects.
Okay.
And now we have completed school, we have come back and now take over. I have a 2-year-old kid, and I feel like we are still teaching children about friendly letters and all those things, when now the WhatsApp and TikTok and everything is taking over the conversation platforms and everything. Nobody's going to write those letters. But we are busy beating children, training them over that. You see. And now I have a kid and I know how it's advancing. I feel like not even sending the child to school, but teaching the child everything from the house. Contacting people who know how to teach the child, forgetting about whatever they're teaching at the school, because I feel so bad, and I'm afraid of my kid going to the same place and become usable in the country. So this is something that our education system needs to take it very serious. Because ICT is taking over everything that we are learning in school. Everything we are learning in school, ICT is taking over. So we are begging our leaders. They travel outside the country. They see things. They hear things. They experience them. And they enjoy them. But when they come back at home, what do they bring to the future generation? This is what we are suffering from today as a youth. So
John,
you do the news in the right time.
John,
so that the future of this country is safe. Now, the mind our goals and everything because of technology. Why? Because of ICT. We are taking our resources because of ICT. Because we don't know how to mine our own gold, to refine our own oil and everything. And they are using that to make us poor.
Yeah.
And we are suffering, and our kids are going to suffer. Our leaders should come to our aid and do something to save our kids. We are dying because of ICT is taking everything from our lives. All
right, thank you, John. John, you've really touched my heart with this country. And that's our last caller from Kumasi, the Ashanti Regional Capital. Now, I think that the fundamental deduction I make from this is we're already too late in the day. Those who we claim were imperialist colonizers have already advanced. We cannot be blaming them. Our education is lagging. So then what do we do to make sure, even if we don't catch up, we're near? Mr. Gamey.
The only solution is to try to have a comprehensive, clear plan, strategy that helps us as a country, as corporations, and even individuals to be able to scale. But even though scaling AI has a massive competitive advantage, it's not enough to look in algorithms alone. It's important to have a plan for our people development, for the job market. We must have a strategy, an AI-led job market strategy, an evaluation by the Labor Department, Ministry of Employment, the tertiary space. We must have a strategy for our workforce development, so that from this strategy, the schools build their curriculums and everything around it and prepare us for an AI-ready market. This is very, very important if Ghana is going to harness this. So companies must take advantage. We must start having the conversation and see how to embed AI into strategy from A to Z, create value along the value chain, and make sure we are more productive than just being busy with work.
I think what we have to do is to bring you again next week, because the Ministry of Education says they are doing science, technology education, mathematics kind of education. So if we say we want to revolutionize our education with AI and catch up, how do we do it? I think next week we can discuss that. Do you promise? If
That
you're
would be
available?
that would be great. I'm
All right.
available for that.
And thank you all for your message. And this is also a message from RK Some on our stream. And he says, good morning. I don't think Ghana is ready to accept AI into the economy. We are high in unemployment. Therefore, let's improve that. But then AI can also create a lot of employment.
Absolutely. With AI comes a new work market. We are talking about Moderna, the company that created the vaccine, led by a software engineer. He's not a scientist. And we are going to have these revolutions all around the value chain for almost every industry. We could look specifically in education like you want to do. That's the kind of conversation, because the whole thing starts from education. And then once people have a clear direction as to how the job market, the outlook for the job market is, then we can be prepared, AI ready for the next wave of jobs.
Thank you very much. And Philip Gamey is the CEO for Web and Software, but he's also kickstarting this whole conversation and wants to get the public opinion very much voluminous, if not convoluted, with the discussions about why we need to get this into our mindset, into our psyche, into policy, and then also whether it's taxation, it is revenue, it is development in education, etc. And we have to bring in, how can we marry that with education and then do that further development? Thank you very much, Philip Gamey.